the difference. Green Bay has a great coach. Dallas doesn't. Green Bay has winning momentum. Dallas doesn't. Green Bay has their culture set. Dallas doesn't. Green Bay is a Super Bowl capable team. Dallas isn't. So you need Micah. You need Micah to be the cake and the icing in Dallas. Green Bay just needs him to be the icing. They've got the coach, the culture, the offense, a team-first mentality. They don't need much. They need a game record. And Green Bay is in a division with Kevin O'Connell, Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, and that great offensive weaponry in Detroit. They got to get to the quarterback. And Green Bay does almost everything well except find game records on defense. They did it with Charles Woodson. They did it with Reggie White. And I think that history and that success of taking a huge swing, which Green Bay doesn't do a lot, I think they look at this and they think this is our Charles Woodson. This is our Reggie White. So I think everybody's got different windows. I think it works. Micah isn't for everybody. I tend to think he wanted $47 million. But for Green Bay, everybody's windows are different. Green Bay is they needed a disruptor. They need a distraction. They need a playmaker because they're in a division with some of the smartest offensive people in the league. And they got to get the ball back to their offense. So I thought Green Bay, it was the time, the place. It's a little more than I want to pay, but you know, they're paying Jordan Love and they're paying Micah and quarterback and game record. And they also are a team that drafts and develops exceedingly well over the last 30 years. They're a team that gets third, fourth, fifth round players to perform quickly and for long stretches. So I'm always, like Philadelphia does, I'm always going to say teams like that can take bigger swings because they get so many inexpensive players in the second, third, fourth, and fifth rounds. And Green Bay's been doing that forever. They've had great offensive lines the last 30 years. They almost never draft offensive linemen in the first round. So I like it for Green Bay. I like it for Dallas. And
yeah, it's funny because that's exactly what I said when this broke for the Green Bay Packers, that the Packers draft and develop so well that you can afford to take a swing like this and go out and pay because you're going to be able to find those players in the second, third, fourth, etc. So, but I do think this move is more interesting than I think we also initially see it on the surface level. I think sometimes we just get lost in the names and just the story itself. And I think when we look at Micah, how many times over the years have we seen teams make a big move or give up a valuable, whether it be a first round pick, second, third, depending on the situation? It's for a situation where the player is flirting, leaving his prime. He's kind of like extra disruptive. He's going to be eligible to like leave the following year. So like he might not even stay. Like there's just a whole series of question marks where you're kind of like, we do kind of have to give this up a little bit. We're going to have to give up another player or draft capital or whatever. And like, it's really only like for this year or next year, maybe even just this year. And like outside of that, it's just like, we have to just kind of wait and see what happens. That's not the situation with Micah. I mean, Micah could get multiple contracts with Green Bay. Micah now has the potential with Green Bay to be a true Green Bay Packer. And the Dallas Cowboys time with him was just kind of a thing. Just kind of a thing that happened in the past. Pretty much what Saquon Barkley is looking to do with the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. Where it's just kind of like, yeah, I got drafted to this other team before, but like my home, my heart, it's Philly. When I retire, I'm going to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Like that's, that when I get invited back 10, 15, 20 years and, you're getting invited of like players of the past or whatever, whenever they have those like random, the older players and stuff like on the field and, it's like going to be with the Eagles. not necessarily the New York Giants. Maybe a little bit of both, but it's going to be Eagles. If he gets into the Hall of Fame, you're going to see Philly. And that's what Micah has a chance to do with Green Bay. Where it's just like, yeah, of course I was drafted with the Dallas Cowboys. It was a great time, all love in Dallas and Jerry, like you always will paint it in a positive light, especially 15, 20, 30 years from now. But like he has the opportunity now to like actually solidify himself as like, I am a Green Bay Packer. This isn't a sense of like, this was just a stop for me. Like this could be my actual home. Whereas, again, other players of the past, like a Von Miller, just a little pit stop in L.A. OBJ, also L.A. A little bit of a pit stop in L.A. Trying to think of any other quick example. I can't think of anything immediately off the top of my head. But, and that happens. So... But you can really you can really solidify yourself. AB with Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with Tom Brady and whatnot. I mean, Tom Brady with the Bucs really was just kind of like a little bit of a pit stop, but obviously at the end of his career. And so, yeah, which is, to me, that's then what makes this move even better. That's what makes this move even better, because Micah's young enough and special enough where you could knock these next 3-4 years out of the park. And now Micah's like, I'm staying in Green Bay. And listen, maybe depending on how age gets you and what the nature of the contracts are, could get another really big contract. Or again, you just don't know. But as long as it's a positive and consistent environment, you would see someone like Micah's like, I'm staying. I'm staying here. I'm a Green Bay Packer. I'm not looking for the next destination or the next stop here. It's like I'm looking to be a Green Bay Packer. And to me, then that makes a move like this. It makes the move even less of a risk in that regard. It's a little bit different to me if Micah was older, flirting with leaving his prime, significantly injury prone or something, coming off a major injury, like a really like debilitating type level of injury. I know he was injured last year, now his back even, but like, that's just football at this point. I don't pay too much. I'm not too concerned about his style of injury history. And yeah, I think to me, that makes so much more sense. Like when the Buffalo Bills went out and got Von Miller, it was like, I don't, you're paying a lot of money for a guy who's, in any given moment looks like he's pretty much his best years are behind him. And are you really then better off in that situation, or should you save the money, round out the roster in a different way, get out and try to draft a player that will be in his prime for longer than, say, a Von Miller with Buffalo, right? Like you're always playing this game. It's one of the hardest parts of football, is juggling. I talked about this with the Cowboys, ironically, of all these various timelines of each individual player. Of this player is leaving his prime, this player is entering his prime, this player is a few years away from his prime, and you're trying to figure out, how do we put this all together, right? It's not like you just need to get a collection of 20-some guys and be like, they're all great, they all need to be between 24 and 27, and boom, that's how you do it. It's not the way it works. It's just everyone's kind of at their own various timelines here. And I just think that Micah fits this perfectly, because you get to essentially have him, if you want, and obviously if it's successful, you get to have him for multiple, timelines, multiple individual football generations, in terms of when you're young, when you're a veteran, and when you're starting to age, right? You get that, you have that opportunity now. It gives you more flexibility in that regard, and it puts you in the driver's seat. So I think it's all positive, honestly. I mean, the money never feels good. That honestly, and even if you sign Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Micah Parsons or no matter what, anytime you're paying top dollar for any of these players, it never feels good. You pay $55 million, $60 million a year for Mahomes. Ideally you want to get him for 50, even though it's Josh Allen, Mahomes. You always want to pay less Doesn't feel good to pay Jamar Chase, what is he, 45 million or whatever the heck it is, like, and never feels good to pay anyone that amount of money, because it's also becoming increasingly, from my viewpoint, it's becoming increasingly harder to actually conceptualize how much this money matters in any given moment, because everything just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And it seems like the moment we all get a little bit more comfortable working with the range of money for various positions like quarterbacks, receivers, whatever the position may be, everything just continues to go up higher. And so now you're just like, well, wait a second. Like, I just got comfortable paying a quarterback $150 million for a contract. Now we're paying defensive ends, $150 million contract. Now we're paying wide receivers, and now we're paying quarterbacks $200 million. Well, now we're paying quarterbacks $230 million. Now we're paying quarterbacks $200. It's just hard. It's becoming increasingly harder, I think, for people like us to really have any sense of comfortability of, like, how much should we pay for these guys? Anytime it's top dollar, it's always going to be like, I don't know. And it's hard to gauge also, like, where the market goes in any given moment. So, and also where the trend's going to be right now. We are definitely, I always talk about this, the pendulum's always swinging with, like, defense and offense, and we definitely over these last few years have been hit in the face of, like, you all abandoned defense for too long. Everyone got real excited with Tom Brady and Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar, and it was just offense. Like, defense matters. Like, Colin for a few years was like, defense does not matter. And he's always, like, pushing on that defensive coaches aren't that, as important, which I do agree with that part. But then, like, now over these last few years, it's like defense. And now the Packers are like, defense, baby, let's get after it. Defense. So that is where the pendulum swing is right now. And that is, you would say that that's a smart decision for them to make. So just exciting stuff, honestly, for the Green Bay Packers. And I think just as much as you look at the Cowboys, and I said, I don't see where the optimism can come from, where I'm like, I can find the optimism and the positivity in any situation. I'm like, I'm really struggling to find the optimism. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm just struggling to see the optimism. With the Green Bay Packers, the optimism and the positivity, it's just through the roof. As long as Jordan Love, which I obviously don't believe, but as long as Jordan Love doesn't end up being an absolute disaster, where it was like, oh my goodness, he's actually not a good quarterback. We spent all this money. We made a huge mistake. Oh no. Outside of that being the reality for the Green Bay Packers, which again, I don't think it is, like, this team is going to have a solid core on both sides of the ball for years to come. The rest just comes from rounding out the roster over the years, great decision making and great coaching, and you'll consistently be great. And some, injury luck gods need to help you out, as always. And you're going to be, for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years, you're going to be in the hunt. You're going to be in the mix year after year after year. As long as you round out the roster as people come and go, you make high-level decisions, coaching, and actually execution from the players. Injury gods got to have your back a little bit, and you have an amazing runway to do some damage. And to even survive a bad year where it's like, so-and-so got injured, that kind of really derailed our season. But next year will be better. Like, you even have more room for that. When you get some of these other players that have, like, a much smaller runway, well, then it's like you can't be as resilient to any of those hiccups. So the optimism is just through the roof. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Are the Packers Super Bowl contenders with Micah Parsons? How do you feel now that the buzz has kind of settled down a little bit with this? And, how do you feel about the trade now? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.